Good morning, everyone. As you start coming on in, welcome to Sick of This Shit Publications. I'm Nick Paro, not your dad, joined by Cliff Schecter of Blue Amp Media, founder of Blue Amp Media, for today's Intelligent Masculinity discussion. And I see that we're freaking out on Substack side. The stream is doing its weird black in and out bullshit.
It's what we love about Substack.
They do it so well for us all the time on all of the things. Also, good morning, everyone on Twitch, YouTube, Kick, wherever you're getting us from. It's good to see you. Cliff, good morning. Welcome to today's Intelligent Masculinity. And can you introduce yourself for everyone in the audience?
First of all, thank you so much for having me on, Nick. I've known you a while. I admire this show and admire actually the goals of this show. I'm not sure that I'm either intelligent or masculine, so you may have made a mistake in having me on, but we'll see as we go along. Yeah, I guess maybe that joke's a little flat.
No, I'm laughing in the background. I have myself muted.
I can't, Okay, so I am Cliff Schecter. I've been probably for close to 30 years, 20, 25 years, a consultant for Democratic and also progressive, non-democratic at times causes and candidates. Big high point of it would have been I wrote ads in 2020 for Joe Biden, which knocked the orange guy out of the office, and then I thought we were done. Everything was cool, and then he came back, and so having sort of retired from consulting, I started Blue Amp Media, a Substack, and I went back to YouTubing, which I used to do, and that's Blue Amp Media, and we're hopefully growing. And you can subscribe at blueamp.co, even though I shouldn't be doing that right now, but what the hell. We take on, our whole thing is we will take on conversations that we need to have on the left. We go after the right in a way that Chuck Schumer would never dream of. It would very much upset him. He'd need a fainting couch. And so we want to have the conversations that need to be had on issues with their nuance. And we don't believe in accepting bad faith right-wing bullshit. That'd probably be a good way of summarizing it. And we like to educate folks if we can, to help, because we need to be educated. So that's not if I've said too much, perhaps I have, but Blue Amp Media, amplify the good, crush the bad. There you go. Summary.
Good. I like it. I'm a supporter of Blue Amp Media. I have quite a few friends who work with you at Blue Amp Media and who work for you at Blue Amp Media, and I love the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
I love the support that you're providing for creators and for those of us who are entering this space and who aren't maybe traditional journalists or traditional investigators or are just writers or just people who are coming in. And so I'm really proud to stand by Blue Amp because you guys do really great work. And I appreciate the efforts you're putting in because, like my shirt says, all of us fighting fascism. And yes, it's probably better on YouTube right now. I'm seeing our Substack literally continue to go in and out, black and white, in and out, live on Substack. So if you're on Substack right now, my suggestion, especially if you want to stay within the Substack chat, is go to YouTube. Go to our YouTube, but keep your chat open on Substack so that you can chat with us here. But go over to YouTube and listen there if you need to catch it. Thanks, Beth, for putting the feed in. Go over to YouTube if you have to. I can't reboot unless I start a brand new live, and I don't want to do that. And if the recording keeps flashing in and out on Substack, I do have this full recording here on Restream that I'll be able to send over to Cliff too, so he doesn't get a freak out one unless it's right on their side. But you never know.
Well, I didn't tell you beforehand. I'm like the lantern guy from The Boys. I sometimes cause an overload of electricity. Actually, that was what's her name, Starlight, wasn't it? All right, I'm getting. You have to get boys jokes correct. My God.
Yeah. So we're going to get into our discussion here in a couple minutes. The actual intelligent masculinity, which we tend to end up answering a lot of the questions throughout without me ever asking any of the questions that I have. But I love getting people's thoughts, especially I'd love to get yours on some of the things that are going around right now, and some of them just a bit, at least one piece that either may not be big news, but is big to us or is important, is and our mutual friends, Dana Dubois and Lawrence Winterman, speak a lot about this now too. And you have started speaking about it. And I speak about it is the rise in anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
And you're a Jewish American. I'm a
Mhm.
Jewish American. Our friends Lawrence and Dana are Jewish Americans. Like we have incredible friends who are also Jewish Americans who are speaking up and speaking out on many of these issues and are calling out that there is a rise in anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
And I want to be clear that I am not saying that all of the people on the left are anti-Semitic. I'm
Of
not
course not.
saying many of the candidates are anti-Semitic. I think many of the progressive candidates are incredible.
Yeah.
And I'm a progressive. I think many of the progressive candidates are incredible. I think there's a lot of conflating going on, and there's a lot of specific targeting to make us fight each other.
I have no doubt
And the
yeah.
anti-Semitism is real.
Yes. Well, I don't know where to begin. If you want, I can talk about this subject first.
Yeah, let's talk about this first.
I just was getting more and more pissed off watching some of the stuff going on, except like things that were being said and were acceptable in circles where I used to feel like, wow, I belonged here. And now suddenly, and again, this isn't most of the left. So let's be clear. And then let's also be clear that I have and will till hopefully the day when he's held responsible for it, call Bibi Netanyahu a war criminal. I've called him a mass murderer. I've called out that cabinet, Ben Gvir, and that bunch of ghouls around him. Like he's just a fascist, like Trump or Putin or like anybody else. So criticizing him, criticizing the murdering Gazan children, absolutely. It's when it's gone past that to collective blame, when 66% of Israelis don't want to be in Gaza right now, according to Bolay. It's collective blame of American Jews, when my guess is the vast majority of us are against what is going on, as if we somehow, these are old stereotypes. They were used as blood libel, in during the Middle Ages when pogroms happened, the kinds of pogroms that are why I'm sitting here in this country, because Ukraine and Berlin, thankfully, that part of the family got it 100 years before the worst of it. But Jews we're in a position where we're considered privileged because we're white, and some Jews have done well financially and whatever. But at the same time, people don't remember that we're such a small group. Where 1/3 of us were wiped out during the Holocaust. 1/2 of our European population, and there is no country in the history of the world that has ever not kicked us out or tried to kill us. It's pretty much so. My problem is when Zionism starts becoming a word for someone to just say Jew, and these things start getting conflated. One can disagree with Zionism. One can say, I don't believe in it. But you can't make up facts about it. You can't pretend it's a right wing. It was the Theodore Herzl popularized it, who was pretty close to a socialist. Ben Gurion and Golda Meir were socialists. It was labor Zionism. The only thing about Zionism was the belief that Jews should have a homeland because of the danger posed to us everywhere else, that we needed a place where we could know there was safe passage and we could have self-determination. And you can argue about whether that land should have been the place. You can argue about anything else. Like, I'm not saying that's anti-Semitic. But if you just toss Zionist at me, you're being anti-Semitic. I hate to say it, because you don't know. Or I guess I would want to ask you, if you're American, when you're giving back the Native American land you're living on. A lot of shitty lines were drawn after World War II, okay, and World War I. Myanmar, where there's been obviously a genocide, is one of them. Syria would be another one. And my problem here is when you only pick out one place where Muslims sadly are being killed, which is in Gaza, and you have nothing to say about the Uyghurs who are being put in concentration camps in China, who we're like best buddies with. You have nothing to say about what Assad did to 600,000 Muslims, gassing them to death in Syria. We funded that, by the way, too. So if this is a funding question, we fund Saudi Arabia, which puts women to death for not wearing a hijab, for being raped. I'm sorry if that triggers anybody, but a woman is raped and they consider it her shame and put her to death. So context in this conversation. Bibi Netanyahu can be a war criminal. What Israel's government right now can be terrible. What they're doing can be wrong. Jews can still deserve a place to live and self-determination and not be collectively blamed. And you know, whatever deserve what every other group deserves. And that is where I'm seeing people who are suddenly throwing in, you know, Zionism is the be all end all evil. You know, AIPAC sucks. I hate them. I think they actually want. I think they purposely want what's going on. They want infighting the Democratic Party because they're pretty much a Republican front group at this point. They're like the NRA, but they don't represent most Jews. You know what I mean? They're like the Miriam Adelsons. So that is important too, that blame AIPAC. But if you find yourself only blaming AIPAC, kind of like if you find yourself only blaming Israel, you need to ask yourself some questions, some real hard questions about why it is that you don't know. You know, when 2 years ago, I was working on trying to save, you know, Armenians who are being ethnically cleansed in Artsakh, a part of Azerbaijan, by a dictatorial, vicious leader, every bit as brutal as Netanyahu. I couldn't get almost anybody on the left to help me promote the stuff I was trying to put out there. Why is that? Shouldn't we be upset when this is happening to anybody, anywhere? And by the way, if you ask the question, we had given funding for fighters to Azerbaijan. So I'm going to end it there and just say, this is not an easy, straightforward conversation. It's a nuanced conversation. And if you find yourself saying everything Israel does is good, or if you find yourself saying, you know, all Jews are bad or all Zionism is evil or whatever, then you're doing it wrong because you're not giving this the nuance it deserves.
Yeah,
So,
no, I totally agree. And by the way, our Substack feed did cut out, and I don't know why the fuck.
I'm laughing at them, not you. So
yeah, no. So I'm gonna have to. Our stream is gonna be a little weird. So I'll send you the full recording afterwards because
okay,
it kind of
we'll
sucks.
get it out there. And if
We lost our Substack feed there.
if you set up another Substack thing, just let me know if I have to click on something, or if you can't, that's fine too. Like,
yeah, I'm gonna do that while we're talking because I want people to be able to hear this conversation because this is really important. Like,
well, and you know, I'll say this: what I try to say to people is, you know, look at the people that are having these conversations now. You, me, Lawrence, and you brought up Dana. I've had Julie Roginski on a number of times. She was one of the, you know, she's been a fighter for liberal causes. She was someone who wrote an op-ed when she was threatened not to do it in, I think it's like 2006, 2007, in support of gay marriage equality. She was ahead of, you know, because Obama had not yet come out for that, and neither, you know, and we weren't supposed to be doing that, and she did because she thought it was the right thing to do. You know, I'm not bragging, I'm not saying whatever, but I've been on the board in Ohio here of Planned Parenthood, and I do not have a uterus. I just care about all people having equal rights. I've been on the board of the Ohio Innocence Project. We got over 30 people wrongly accused, as you can guess, in too many cases, minorities who had people beaten, and so they would testify against somebody who didn't do something, and it wasn't about getting Jews out of prison. It was about other people, because I believe everybody deserves equality. Everybody needs to be treated with dignity, and so it's really hard for me. And Julie told her story. She came on yesterday, and I've told mine. You know, when you see people that you thought were your friends saying things that really are hurtful, honestly. And to me, I'm a big boy and I can take it. But the one thing I will not do is, if you endanger my kids and by sharing Jewish stereotypes, I'm sorry, that's where I become a fierce dad. And, you know, I'll go to fucking war. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, I don't mean to, and I don't mean that in any way. Like, it sounds like a threat. I don't mean that like a threat towards anybody, but I do mean, like, you know, anybody out there who doesn't have the instinct to protect their kids over everything else, I don't understand. So, you know, we ask people to understand what you're doing when you're repeating some of these things that I've seen people repeat and throw out as attacks that are just Jews doing what every other group has wanted to do on this, or have a place to live. You know, you can debate whether that the Balfour Resolution that gave Jews Israel was correct or not, but it was given to them the way, as I pointed out, many countries most of the countries in existence right now did not exist before World War II. Okay, so most of these countries redrew lines. There are people on various sides. There was supposed to be an Israel and a Palestine there. Okay,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to get into all of what went down, but I'm just going to say Israel was the first country to recognize Palestine next door to them when the 1948 after the resolution. So there are things that it's not like Netanyahu's been the only one. I mean, Perez along the way was terrible. I'm not claiming Israel's perfect. I'm not claiming, but you can't say things, or I'm not going to let people say things that just aren't true. I'm just not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you say things that are out of proportion, if every other word is Israel's committing a genocide, and you're not talking at all, you don't even know, or it doesn't bother you that Saudi Arabia has bombed Yemen and probably killed, the numbers are somewhere around almost 300,000 women, children, innocent civilians who are Muslims, by the way. We fund the hell out of Saudi Arabia, a lot more than Israel. The guy bone sawed one of our residents to death. I mean, again, where are the campus protests on pulling all money from Saudi Arabia and all support? Where are they on pulling all money and support from Egypt that cracked down on their own people and killed over 1,000 of them in Cairo in 2012 when they stood up for human rights and for democracy? You have to put things in proportion. You have to be fair about them. And when you only talk about one place where there's a group of people that have been the scapegoat of all scapegoats of all time, I'm going to be suspicious. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah. And I talked about this weekend a little bit, was that we need to widen our lens. Is if you're only focused on the destruction and the genocide, in my words, I'll use that word. And I know you aren't, and I know you won't.
But
I know why, and I know why you won't. And maybe it'll be important if you could say it again here. So anybody who watches this after also hears this statement of why you won't say it, because I think it's important, because it's a really nuanced conversation. And for me, it's you have to widen your lens on what the heck's going on. Like the Uyghurs in China, nobody screams about them being erased off of the earth.
And we should be. We should be. We should be horrified if we care about Muslims and all human rights. We should be horrified and screaming about that.
Yeah, the Kurds have been demonized and marginalized and attacked by multiple nations, like
Turkey, Iraq, Syria. I mean,
and it does feel very targeted when all we hear is Israel, Israel, Israel. Yeah, we both agree that Israel is doing some awful things right now. The Israeli government is, but not all Israeli people. Like 20% of their population is out protesting almost daily.
They hit 21%. We've only managed to hit 10, I don't even know if we hit 10% against Trump. And I just would say, as I've said to other folks, if every Israeli is, they've been trying to get rid of this guy who's used fear. He's used the tricks Trump has used. He's found a way to, a minority, because it's a parliamentary system, to align himself with these small, ridiculous parties that have 3 or 4 people in them to hold on to a majority. He's found every trick to really have minority rule there, in the same way Trump lost the Electoral College in 2016. Lost the popular vote by nearly 3 million votes, but still became our president. That's a lot of what you're looking at there. And as you said, 21% of the population coming out in that country to march is a pretty big deal against him. 66% wanting to get out of Gaza is a pretty big deal. And so these things have to be taken into account. Or again, we are responsible for everything Trump does. We're responsible for him murdering fishermen off the shore of Venezuela. We're responsible for Alex Peretti and for Renee. Why am I not thinking of her last name?
Renee Nicole Good.
Thank you, Don. Renee Nicole Good. Either everybody's responsible for every Russian is responsible for what Vladimir Putin, his mass murder, his purposely targeting schools and churches and what have you in Ukraine. You can't collectively blame one group of people and then be like, well, but it's not my fault that what Trump's doing. And these are the types of things I'm trying to say, while also with the word. This is really straightforward and simple. And again, people get hung up on like, did you use that word? Did you use that word? I have called Bibi Netanyahu a war criminal. I've said, I hope he ends up on the Hague, in the Hague. I hope he spends the rest of his life there. I hope his whole cabinet does. If it were up to me, I would honestly, like, I'd make him sit there and have to watch like a video just out of reach of liberal democracy succeeding and of a Palestinian state being created, just so he'd suffer while he was in the Hague, because I believe in two states. Like, I don't know, he's a mass murderer. Like, I don't know how much more clear I can make this. I don't use the word genocide for a simple reason. It's why if I find an individual somewhere, and we all do this, and we realize where there are stereotypes, an individual somewhere who is lazy and they happen to be black, I don't use that word because it's been a long time stereotype for people who are black that whites in the South created, ironically, considering they had black people doing all of their damn work for them, but another story. And so I don't want to play into that stereotype, so I don't do it. I don't want to play into a stereotype if I think there's a woman somebody's arguing with, and I think she's being emotional. Well, I know that's one of those sort of things that people say. Oh, women are so emotional, which is bullshit, obviously. But I would not use that term. I'll find a different term. Where I might call you emotional. If you and I got that way, I wouldn't for her, because I know it has a different meaning. Well, genocide, if you understand the history of what's happened to Jews and why I'm here and my family got here, Jews were accused of blood libel. We were accused of, quote, the genocide of Christian babies, unquote, for two millennia. There'd be passion plays where, like what Mel Gibson did with his little movie. It'd be passion plays. Jews killed Christ. Then they go to Jews' houses and they'd say, a Christian kid disappeared from town. Or baby, you drank their blood and killed Jews for it. So I will not use the G word for that reason, because I don't want to play into that stereotype. But if I call Bibi Netanyahu a mass murderer, if I call Bibi Netanyahu a war criminal, I mean, I just don't understand how many a racist. I don't understand how many different ways I have to say what I think about him, and that I'm just not using one specific word, and how that would make me into somebody who's not speaking the truth as I see it here.
Yeah. Oh, and Cliff, I sent you a text, and in the private chat should have a new co-host invite that you can accept. I got us back up on Substack. It looks like we're actually going now.
You got the skills like that I don't have. So
I do this a lot. And hopefully this one stays good for us. Everyone, if you're with us on YouTube and you want to come back on Substack, it looks like we are, looks like we're good now, and looks like we're back online. So please come join us back on Substack. Again, Cliff, I'll make sure you get the full recording after, because this will break up on your Substack side. And that would be disappointing for you. But yeah, I think what you say here is, well, maybe we're not so good on Substack. God damn it.
Do we lose it?
No, it's still there. It's just doing its back in and out thing again. And I don't know why. But again, my recommendation for folks, if you want, is come in on Substack, join the chat there, and listen here on YouTube. Just mute the Substack side and chat here on Substack, because I know that's where many of you come in and do your chat, and that's our biggest community. But we're going to push through.
Sorry, by the way. Yeah, it sucks.
It ain't your
I've
fault.
Dealt with so many. I know, but I've dealt with enough shows where this kind of shit happens, and I feel bad for you. So we're still going to have a good time, and we're still going to talk about important stuff. So
yeah. And I think the nuance that you brought to this conversation is really, really important. Like, we have to be able to move forward in this conversation. And if we keep relitigating the same hate of the past, we're never going to do that. Like, we're never going to get forward if we keep blaming the Jews for our problem. And then not everybody is doing that. Again, this is not a conversation about everybody. A majority of the regressive right are they're anti-Semitic in one way or another. Either very openly, or just in the standard common anti-Semitism that we see all throughout the nation and through the world and the othering that has always been there.
Yep. And if you're
And yeah,
evangelical and you want the state of Israel to exist just so the rapture can come about and Jews will be destroyed by it, as well as Muslims and everybody else, and you will go to heaven because you're a good Christian, that's anti-Semitic too. You may
yeah,
be in favor of Israel, but you're not in favor of Israel for the right reasons. So
yeah. And I'm also one, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this, is I'm of the mind too that we have narrowed the definition of Semitic to just mean Jew. And
you're right.
we don't ever discuss anti Semitism in the language that it probably should be used, which is against anyone who is of Semitic race or Semitic birth, which means if you are attacking Muslims who are Semitic, who are from that area, if you're attacking Palestinians who are Semitic people, you are also anti Semitic. And it is a more encompassing word than we like to pretend it to be.
No, that is a fantastic point, and I appreciate your making it because it's one of those where I feel like I've made, tried to dive into these kinds of areas talking about this, and I didn't even think of that one. That I didn't even like I'm some genius, but even I meant even as many times as I've talked about this, you're 100% right, and that's an important part of the discussion too. So thank you.
Yeah, and it's you're welcome. And hopefully you can bring that into your lexicon because I want this to be like this nuanced conversation needs to be more than what it is. Like more than just us. There's a lot of folks who are out here who are Jewish screaming about it and talking about it and being dismissed about it.
Yes.
And I want to know your thoughts, and I know you've talked a lot about this already, though, but your thoughts on this, wrapping this into a conversation about masculinity and how you as a man are dealing with this on an emotional level and on a or an emotionally intelligent level of how are you working to respond to all of this, but how are you working to reflect in yourself too on ways to improve either your responses towards
Mhm.
the anti-Semitism, your responses towards the people who are bringing forth these discussions, and how that wraps into being a man, and what you can see as intelligent masculinity out of that.
That is a great sort of related set of questions, as you said, interrelated. I'll start with I've tried to be better because I feel like anyhow it's more effective would be most of the people I'm talking to ostensibly were on the same side and of the biggest issues. I am a universal health care, Medicare for all, child care for all, family medical leave for all. I would nationalize our all of our transportation systems so we get the kind of trains that we deserve. I mean, I could go on and on. I'm a social democrat in the European sense, and Western European in what I believe. So I think there's a lot of things that we have in common. But it is like I decided to just be honest. It is hurtful as somebody, so I could just react like I'm gonna blow everything up or I'm gonna do whatever. And I even said something that somewhat in anger earlier, because when I think about my boys, and I mean, one of my kids got called a stupid Jew on a soccer field, right? That never happened before until the last. He's played soccer for many years now, but it happened right now, and I don't think that's a coincidence. Um,
No, not a,
um, and so when it gets personal like that, because again, um, this isn't like me being toxic masculine. I'm saying this in a defensive way. I would kill or die for my boys if somebody, comes after. And that's not like I like violence. It's not I want violence. I despise it. It's a if that's what it came down to last, that was my last opportunity and I need to protect them. I'm going to do what it takes if somebody's attacking them. And this isn't quite that, but it's making their lives more dangerous. It's making it, and that hurts me as their father a lot. And so intellectually, there have been a few times where I've gotten angry, and because I also you know me, I'm kind of a sarcastic jackass and playful about making fun of people when they come after me, because I always felt it was better than insulting them, was I just would mock them. And I did some of that originally with this. And there was one show where I'm trying to think which it was, because I've talked about this on a number of shows, where one of my commenters, who I appreciate, and I know who she is, said, Cliff, it probably would be better if you didn't do that, blah, blah, blah. And, to talk about intelligent masculinity, hopefully, I sat there in the middle of my show, looked in the camera and apologized without condition and said, you know what? I'm human. Because this affects my family, I'm going to lose my temper sometimes. I try not to, but look, I grew up in 1970s New York, and everybody, late 70s New York, and everybody's always like, oh, okay, New York, man, it must have been great. Go watch like Warriors or Death Wish or something. Late 70s New York was somewhat of a different place. And anti-Semitism was everywhere. It wasn't like New York today. If well, there clearly there still is some in New York, but it wasn't, where you feel pretty comfortable if you live there. I mean, I had people throwing pennies at me, stuff like that, and that kind of thing. I mean, I encountered anti-Semitism many times. Thankfully, for whatever, it didn't hurt me. I was like, all right. I just always had the kind of sort of personality where I could just, brush it off. But I don't, when it's when you have children, for people out there who have children, you're responsible for having brought them into this world. They didn't ask for it. And I feel responsible for making sure they have every safety and opportunity, not a helicopter parent insane way, but from they should have every opportunity possible, not have doors closed to them because of their background, not have threats thrown at them or insults because of their background. And so, yeah, I've tried to handle this intellectually and say, I get it. I get that there is a small contingent of folks who I have pretty strong beliefs and evidence, are pushing some of these narratives to conflate everything and to try to push anti-Semitism. It's clearly coordinated in some of the things you see. You don't have to be a genius to see that. And Russia, if you know Russia, this is literally their history. I mean, beyond the protocols of the Elders of Zion that came out of there, the KGB in the 1960s, after the battle over the Suez Canal and kind of the sides became more defined, that the United States and the West were allies of Israel, and that the Soviet Union was allies with some of the Arab states. Part of one of the biggest ways that the KGB figured out they could divide the West was using anti-Semitism, with Israel now as an ally. So they would push all sorts of blood libel against Israel, against Jews in the West. There was, I should have looked it up. Was it Zarathustra? It's like after the Nietzsche thing, which was an actual op to blow up buildings with Black Americans in them in Harlem, and have Jews, who were dupes, take credit for it so they could have the Jewish and Black community go to war with each other. This is not stuff of theory. You can look it up, anybody, and guess who's running Russia right now? A guy with some connections to the KGB.
All while they were playing an op to also take over Israel with Russian mobsters.
Correct. Well, an op to take over Israel with Russian mobsters and their connections to Netanyahu, all while they have an op to push anti-Semitism because the most heroic leader currently in the world, Zelensky, who leads Ukraine, is Jewish. There's a lot of reasons for them to be doing this. And on top of that, there's proof out there. Julie Roginski, who I mentioned earlier, wrote an article the other day of that Qatar, where a number of members of Hamas lived happily, top guys of Hamas, is pushing this. And I mean, again, this is a place that executes women for not covering their heads, that if you are LGBTQ would throw you off a roof. These are not, that is the government of Qatar, and they've got huge propaganda organs, out there pushing their stuff. So I'm just trying to say to people that there are a couple folks I think who are doing it on purpose, but the way I try to remain sort of, hopefully intelligent masculinity, if you call that is strength through understanding, through wanting to find ways to have peace and agreement, and through realizing that with most people, if I can just try to educate them, and that's not like used as a condescending term. I need to be educated on all sorts of things. We all do. Education is like a lifelong process for all of us. And I get there are people that have seen a certain term or this or that thrown around a bunch of times that don't understand that they may be saying something that that really is not good, is a slur. And
Yep.
I've done my best, and so that one time that I got angry, I did that and I apologized. I'm not saying I've never said some sarcastic things here and there, but I honestly, how I try to handle it is by being above it, by remembering there are people that went through a lot worse, thinking of people marching across bridges, for example, in Alabama, who are black, and they couldn't respond when they were beaten up because Martin Luther King understood the power, of sympathy, and so what I'm trying to do is not comparing this to that in the scope of it in any way, but a better route from what I've learned from folks like Gandhi and Martin Luther King and others is to try to peacefully have conversations and educate people if they're doing and saying things that are dangerous and hurtful and harmful to you. That is the better way. So I hope I answered the question. That
You did.
I've always thought that performative. And we make fun of that on our show all the time. The performative masculinity of the right, like. Bovino putting on a Nazi uniform doesn't make him masculine. He does it because he's like 4'6", I guess, and feels like it makes him a tough guy. Pete Hegseth being a drunk fucking loser, acting like a tough guy as a Christian nationalist doesn't make him a tough guy. These are the old performative ways of toughness of the past that we're hopefully getting past, though not there yet. So
yeah, the not there yet is a big key one. And I think to maybe help frame your discussion on this is I've come up with a definition over this time of what intelligent masculinity is. And it's really a better humaning concept. It is nothing really to do with men in the end, because it's a human thing. We all have this human condition where we need to be emotionally and physically and mentally intelligent and find ways to live with each other and create society. And so in my eyes, intelligent masculinity is the refusal to outsource accountability onto others and the discipline to live with the consequences of your values and actions. And
I love it. I mean, all that's really important. The accountability is why I brought up apologizing in the middle of my show. Not to say again, I'm not some hero, but I at least like to think of enough self-awareness that, like, oh my God, like, this whole thing on the right where you can't apologize for anything. I feel stronger as a man, as a human, as anything when I have apologized and when I have acknowledged I've done something wrong. Because my God, like, we're all
human.
we're flawed, okay? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what, the reason why I know that intelligent design doesn't exist is because we're the way we are. If intelligent design really existed, would we be like this? I don't think we'd be in wars. I don't think we'd be in, it's evolution. It takes a long time, some would argue too long, to shave off the edges and to get to where we want to be. And so I just, that instinct to never admit you're wrong, to never, my God, I'm wrong about crap every day.
Yeah.
I do my best to learn and get better. I just feel like, in any case, I didn't mean to. That's just
No,
so
I think it's
important
great.
in what you
It
said
is.
there to me. That part speaks to me. Not that the whole thing doesn't, but that really speaks to me.
Well, I'm glad it does, because I was going to say what you've been talking about is that definition in a lot of ways, is the idea of you. I was going to mention your apology that you gave. Like, that's when would a right-wing podcaster or a performative masculine or regressive masculine podcaster or politician or leader or religious figure, and when would they ever say I was wrong? Or
only if there's more money in it.
Yes.
Or, if it's your Jimmy Swaggart, you're like, Lord, I have sinned. And you have the fake tears coming down your face because you cheated on your wife openly and you're supposed to be like, believe in the 10 Commandments, for example.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only time they're sorry about stuff, when they can performatively turn it into a branding or money-making opportunity.
Yeah. Whereas you are actually talking about, you took real ownership and responsibility, and you're taking real ownership and responsibility too with your words and the way that you're speaking about Judaism and your thoughts on anti-Semitism and the way that you are speaking about Israel and the other conflicts that are also going on, and the other genocidal or horrific war crime acts and mass
That are
murders
US
that are
funded
going
too,
on.
and that are, yeah, that's
And
it, right? Yeah.
yeah, and you're willing to talk about them and open up about them, but you're also willing to the biggest thing in all of that is you are willing to admit you were wrong and not place blame on the person who told you that you were wrong.
No, I actually
You
appreciated that.
unequivocally said, I was wrong. Sorry about that. I will
Yeah.
do better.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
said I was human. I'm sorry. Like I let, we're all human, but this is me. So I'm going to talk about me. I let my emotions get to me because of this issue, and I shouldn't have, and that doesn't help. It hurts. So and it doesn't expand the universe of people you can talk to and their understanding. So yeah, I thought it was the right thing to do. I did. I don't even see how that makes one less of a I don't care, you talk about masculinity, you said less of a human, less of a, I don't know, like what would ever be wrong with apologizing for having done something wrong? I think that's about the most basic thing you can do as a human being.
yeah.
And I mean, again, we're gonna all do it mostly every day. Not
Mhm.
always in big ways, maybe in very small ways, but but some days will be bigger than others.
There
Um,
is this old philosophy of to err is to be human or to err is to be human. Like
mhm.
we make mistakes. But the step after that is, am I willing to learn? Am I willing to self-reflect? Am I willing to self-evaluate myself? And so what tools do you actually use? This is one of my like official interview questions is what do you do to self-evaluate and self-reflect, and what is a tool that you could share with those in the audience who are watching with us that has been really helpful for you?
That's a great question. I know we're running a little bit out of time. I don't want to take too long
No,
to
take
answer.
all the time. There's only one set of questions that I actually want to ask, which is our final set, which is for lightning round questions. So don't worry, we will get
Yeah.
to those.
So when I sit there and I take sort of stock in who I am and what I believe and that kind of stuff, there's a couple things there. First of all, I realize there are a couple of challenges that I have that maybe not everybody else has. I mean, you experienced one of them here when like I didn't email you till 10 minutes beforehand. I am ADHD. It is, caused challenge. I mean, and, I know it became like trendy to be like, oh, I'm so ADD. But I am ADHD. And it has been a challenge always. I've loved that in some ways it makes me more creative and whatever, that I'm willing to jump to new ideas, but scheduling myself and whatever becomes harder. So I know I'm going to mess it up sometimes. And I know when I mess it up, the way I've felt very comfortable apologizing to you before this show began, like I need to take accountability for that. I need to let people know that was, I hear a baby and babies are cool. I think I hear a baby. Do I hear a
He's
baby?
actually 10. He just likes to make babyish noises some days.
Oh, actually, I think he's even cooler.
He
Um,
is pretty awesome.
you'll get a
I
lot
love
of
my
good
son.
attention doing that. Yeah, well, good. That's to me, that's the best form of intelligent or masculinity is that you can say, "I love my son." You can hug and kiss and show affection for your boys, which I do all the time, and I don't, unless they don't want me to. Obviously, then I won't. But I don't. Nobody else in society is going to judge my love for my children. In any case, where were we? We were talking about so with that,
The
I've
self-reflection. Yeah.
decided purposely to, I mean, I've got a counselor I talk to. I've decided to, there's a great Substack called the ADHD Weasel, which is an interesting name on there that I subscribe to. And I think it's a she, but it could be a he. I'm not even sure. Is incredibly helpful. Like I want to go and look at what people's credentials are and then try to learn, from them about how I can be better. That's in that way. When it comes to, how I can, let's say, reflect on political beliefs, I test, and things like that. I test them all the time. And sometimes I come to the conclusion that I've been wrong about this, or at least off somewhat, or, I've changed opinions 30. And when I first got into this, I don't know why I keep saying 30. I'm making myself even older than I am, even though I'm already old enough. But about 25 years ago, when I got into this, and whatever, like I believed in the death penalty. I ended up being on the board of the Innocence Project for 8 years. I know that there are people sitting there that would have died if the Supreme Court hadn't had that small period of time where they overturned the death penalty in the late 70s, and then they reinstated it. But everybody had been under the death penalty the first time automatically had a life sentence. Well, we ended up freeing a man who'd been in prison. Sadly, the record's been broken, but at that time it was the record 39 years for murder he didn't commit, and still came out. And this helped teach me something. Who was the nicest, most wonderful guy, and we'd always wonder how. And Ricky Jackson is his name. You can look him up. He's done plenty of stuff since then. And he just would say, I can spend my life hating what happened to me, or I can live my life. And he had to let that go. Doesn't mean he didn't rightfully sue the people that did that to him and got it. He got a great settlement, but he should have gotten every dollar in the world for what he went through, from my opinion. And he went and he's living a good life and helping people and all that. Well, I went from a guy who just said, well, if you kill somebody, you deserve to die, and not thinking any deeper about that as a 20-something, early 20-something, to saying, you know what, like, there's a lot more to it than that. Does the state have the right to take somebody's life and commit that kind of an act of violence, no matter how much I hate the perpetrator? They do not. Does the state get it wrong all the time? They do. And on and on. And that had me change my opinion, apologize for what I stood for in the past. And, I was very proud of the fact that I could sort of, not proud like, oh, I'm great, but just proud, in a way where, like, I'm really happy that I was able to sit down and analyze, and look at the evidence and teach myself to be exactly the opposite of that. So I wish I could sort of say that there's like I found some deep secret or something, but I would say you find three things that I can think of. You find the evidence on whatever it is, and evidence comes from many places these days. So just be aware of who it is you're reading and what you're seeing. And, like if you're getting it from Fox News, chances are it's not helpful. I think that, guys. Right? Probably just a wet dream that Rupert Murdoch had about making another billion, or his 15th wife. See, I had to make fun of somebody during this show. I can't help it. But he's a dick, so it's okay. You need to sort of get your evidence. And these days, there's a lot of independent media. You don't have to just rely on corporate media, but know who your folks are in independent media that are rigorous and give you correct information. I'd say a second place is finding humility, so that you're willing to listen to those around you. I try to do that as much as possible. I still have trouble with certain things. Like, anytime you can tell me to shut up, I talk too much, sometimes interrupt guests. I get it. I try to, my show, I feel like I'm better than I was before, but I'm still not there yet. Working on it. Have the humility to let people who want to, and people come in good faith. If people just show up to insult me, I'm not going to take them seriously. But if they show up in good faith to say stuff, so I'd say, humility would be the kind of the second one. And the third is find the things that allow you to get back to equilibrium. And for all of us, that's different, right? I have a program that I'm lucky, that I joined here, where there is a trainer that has these workouts. For me, working out, it's an hour where I don't take my phone out, where I try to accomplish things, where I feel good about myself and whatever. And so 4 or 5 days a week, on a good week, I go and there's an hour circuit workout where we may be weights or machines or, cardio, but you're on for a minute, you're off for 15 seconds, you're on for a minute, and it just goes like that. My phone's away. The whole world could have just gotten terminated and I wouldn't know. The only thing I've got, I turn off everything but allow calls from my wife and my kids to come through in case there's an emergency. I also, when I can, and I can do it, therapeutic massage. There's an app I have. I think he's a common friend of ours, and he may be watching. Dr. Eric Lolov.
He is watching.
Well, hello
from
there,
the
Eric.
air too. He's
I'm
flying. He's in flight right now
You're in
watching.
flight, and I'm telling you, he got me an app called Calm that it
Mhm.
helped because I care about medit. I mean, even meditating. I'm not saying in some way that I'm an expert, but blocking everything out the best you can and sitting in silence, even with the lights off here in my office for 5 minutes and just being contemplative or longer. For me, I'm not saying it's going to work for everybody. I'm saying you find your things because they're out there. We all have ways of relaxing. We all have ways. Look, those are three intelligent ways. I'll give you another way I relax, and you can laugh at me because how stupid it is. I watch like dumb 80s, like, like not even 80s, but dumb sort of, I shouldn't call them dumb, but like I watch movies about, like superheroes beating the crap out of people who are bad. Or, I just watched Dread again last night. Carl Urban
Good movie.
Carl Urban is one of the best actors alive and should get more credit for that, especially after The Boys. But I digress.
Oh yeah,
I'm
he's a
going through
good
the
actor.
whole
He's a
Carl
really
Urban
good
like
actor.
catalog again right now of
Have you? Are
everything.
you? What is your thoughts on? I'm going to interrupt you for a second here. For what are your thoughts on the Chronicles of Riddick and his acting in those? Because I love those series. That
I,
series, I thought he was great in it.
so I'm going back again to watch it again. I have watched them, and I think he's great. I mean, I don't think there's a thing I've seen him in where he didn't stand out. I watched this video on him. It's just interesting on the bad luck that he had. That a lot of things he did just he either was in them with a lot of other stars, so he didn't get noticed. I mean, even the small role that he had in the third Thor movie, if you watch those movies, he was fucking
Oh
hysterical.
my God, he was the
The two,
best.
like, he's like, I just went to a place called Texas, and he names his assault rifles. I mean, it's total mockery of our right wingers, which I enjoy. But so I watched that last night. Why would that relax me? I don't know, but a good movie about, I'm sorry, maybe because during the times we're in, a movie about the good guys being the guys who stand up for what's right, being, and who are good guys actually being good, matters to me. I don't know. I mean, clearly he does believe in the death penalty and handles things a little bit differently than I would. But it's a movie. So, that relaxes me. I used to find reading the most relaxing thing in the world. And now I used to read so many books, and now I have to read for my job so much every day. I don't want to, I mean, that's one of the few big losses from this job is I don't want to read even a novel, anything when I get home at night because I've spent all day reading. So this has taken place of that, watching a good movie or a good TV show or that. So I'm saying, again, to sum it up, find those things. I mean, I don't know if it'll be meditation, if it'll be massage, working out for other people, maybe swimming. It may be, maybe gummies work for you. Hey, they're legal, go
You
for
do
it.
you, boo.
Yeah, well, I would argue that they've been helpful to me at times.
Mhm.
Like I'm not judging anybody else. I use them, not regularly, but there's times where there's an edge and it's like, okay. Um, Different strokes for different folks, I guess is the best way to put it. And find those things. They're out there. That's what I'd say.
I like it. I love that. Thank you for giving that answer and explaining your different things, because I think in my view it's really the little things and that make a huge difference, and just these what should feel like common moments of just stopping and reflecting for a second. Even like I use the emotional distress tolerance skills, and they're probably very similar to some of the therapeutic and practices that you've learned too. And it just it's it's really rewarding to see that there's so many others who are practicing very similar
Yeah.
ideas and similar concepts, just in various shades of color and like various different ways, and it brings beauty to it because
Yeah.
it makes for me, I know I'm not alone in trying to practice these concepts and grow as a human and learn more. And I loved a lot of what you were saying in there, and there
I mean,
was a point
obviously
that I
that was between my various crypto scams. But I mean, you have
World
to find
Liberty
time for
Financial.
everything.
You got that World Liberty Financial in there.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, we got to find time for everything in life. So.
Funny story. When I lost my last job, super quick, since it's coming up on the 1 year mark of me losing my last job, I was fired on the 4th of July. Yay, go freedom. Well, in the end, I regained my voice on that day, so I don't see it as a bad thing at this point. Though I do miss the paycheck. I don't miss the restrictions that were on my life. And
I had one or two of those moments in my life. I understand it well. Yeah.
And one of the things I really want to go back to real quick on what you were saying some stuff in there, and it may have been small, but I noticed it, is the way that you spoke about Bovino and others. Was your response was, he's a dick. You used, and I don't know if you did it just because it's your lexicon or what you've been raised to use, but you didn't instinctively go to criticizing him as a female body part. You went and said he's a dick. And I think that just makes such a subtle difference. And I've had discussions with other men about this, and it's something I am keen on, is not using females and women and as a battering ram, or as
I'm not comfortable, and I'm not trying to be critical. I get it that different, and certain things have certain meanings, right? So it's funny because I was just talking about Carl Urban, who every other word in The Boys is the C word,
Yeah.
But if you understand, the UK, and I've lived there, I studied abroad there, it's not used in that way. It's used in a very different. So over there, when somebody says something like that, they don't even think of the female body part. I think it's like saying jerk. Whereas here, I do feel like it has that connotation. It has a sort of connotation towards women. And so I don't know whether it's, I mean, I was raised honestly by parents that didn't want me cursing at all. So I feel sorry for them. But they brought me up in New York City too. So that's on them.
That's rough.
Right. But yeah, I use that word. That is purposeful. I'm not saying dick is purposeful, but something other than a female body part is purposeful, whatever it might be, because I'm not comfortable using those words to describe people. Like I don't know. So.
No, I think that's great. I think in terms of like, that is just a simple thing that more people need to accept. More people need to just.
Well, it's what it is.
Willing to do.
I hate to, I don't want, not hate to, but I don't want to bring it back to where we were talking earlier about, why I don't use certain words, why I don't use genocide in the context of with Jews. It's similar to that. Like that was what I was trying to explain, and I didn't know. I always wonder if I get that point across. Here, it's just a choice I make because women have been on the other end of that so much, and a female body part that actually, let me tell you guys, like I've been there twice. Babies come out of it, and like we would be crying like babies if it was us. And so to use that to call somebody weak seems very strange to me and feels very much like there's this, it's sexist and it's aimed. So that would be another example, kind of to go back to where I try to look in the context of various minority groups who've had certain stereotypes and things used against them. And I feel like there's other ways of saying the same thing without saying the thing that furthers the stereotype. So
agreed. And so we are right at the top of the hour. I said I've got some
I'm good.
questions.
So it's really whatever your situation is.
Okay. Yeah, I have another show here in about half an hour, so I want to get to our final question set.
Sure.
Which I did not prep you on any of these questions.
Lightning around. You're gonna
find these fun. You're gonna find these fun. These are a bit more whimsical side for this conversation. I like to end on a more laid back note, let our breath out for a second. And so
I'm not anything if I'm not all about whimsy. So let's do it.
And so I was in choir when I was in high school. I was actually dared to join the men, try out for choir. And I found I really loved it. And when I was in high school, Mulan was really big. And so
Yep.
I'll Make a Man Out of You was our clarion call to action. It was the let's go girls for young men, for boys to feel pumped up and ready to go. And the song has sort of stuck with me throughout the years. It's a good song. But it's also stuck with me because it's not just about physicality. It's about emotional intelligence. It's about finding ways to understand ourselves. And so I like using the chorus line as 4 quick lightning round questions. And there's no wrong answer for any of these questions. They can be really challenging, but I challenge you to try and be as off the cuff, whimsical as you can be, straightforward if you want to be. If you have no answer, you have no answer. But there's 4 really quick questions for you. And so I hope you enjoy these before we get to the final question of where can people find you and support you.
We get to Final Jeopardy after that.
Final Jeopardy, where you don't win any money. And
wow, it sounds a lot like most of my life.
It sounds like Final Jeopardy for the most part for a lot of people too, is they get there and they don't win any money. So let's do this. So my first question, what does it mean to you to be as swift as a coursing river?
Swift as a coursing river? That to me means to move forward like with a bit of reckless abandon, a bit of whimsy, if you will, and to take on challenges and to, for the moment, throw aside the worry about risk and take on it. Yeah, that's it. Take on a challenge.
Love it. How do you embody the force of a great typhoon?
Ooh. By breathing it in and breathe. No, I'm just kidding. I have a righteous, I would have called it righteous anger in the past, but now I'll call it a righteous fight in me. And like a typhoon, if there are those that are treating others wrong, and I will come in like a typhoon, and that doesn't mean necessarily physically. It means being part of the fight, and by the time I'm done, I will make it look like a typhoon was there.
Love it. This one is similar, but not quite the same. How are you as strong as a raging fire?
Ooh.
And preface this before you get into your answer. A raging fire is different than a wild, out of control fire, in my opinion. So I'll give you that preface for you.
And you're also not talking about like me putting on like a Barry White song, like.
No, I mean, you could if you want.
I'm a married guy. I'm not going to go like that. How to me, fire is all passion. I mean, I don't want to give an answer too close to my typhoon answer, but it is standing up for what you believe in, what is right for your friends, for those you love. It's having the fire that you would have for yourself, that for their honest and equal treatment. So there you go.
Love it. And then the final chorus line question. This one is the hardest one of the bunch and has tripped people up the most because it is a bit difficult to think about this one, especially off the cuff, is how are you as mysterious as the dark side of the moon?
Wow, you got me wanting to sing that song. See you on the dark side. Okay, I won't make anybody have to hear that. How am I as mysterious? I'm as mysterious as the dark side of the moon because it's very interesting. I am, as I've said, I'm outgoing. I love this. I love meeting people. I love doing all this. And yet there's a side to me, where I am a private person and I very much enjoy sort of mischievous humor, enjoy like when I'm not being serious, right? Like I want to find ways to poke at my friends that they will find funny and they will appreciate. And, I want to kind of always do it in a way that is not completely straightforward. So I've said before, I can be like half sarcastic, half whatever, and sometimes I say to people, I'm being both sarcastic and serious. It's like I try to find this sort of this mysterious, mystical balance in what I say and what I do, so people never quite know exactly where I'm coming from. And I don't always do that. Clearly, sometimes you very much want to communicate, but a lot of the time, my personality is such that like it's funny to use whimsy. I'm silly and whimsical, and I say something, and like I might be being 75% serious, I might not. Sometimes I guess it's in the eye of the beholder, and maybe I've explained that well, or maybe I haven't, but I think if you know me, you probably know what I'm talking about. So
I think that's a great answer. I love it. I love that answer. I loved all the answers.
well, that's kind of you. Thank you. I mean,
And I appreciate the discussion today. It's been really, it's been nuanced. I know we've had some technical difficulties for folks in the audience. Sorry about that. It happens. We
it's
will make
Substack.
sure.
There's not nothing any of us can do. So you just kind of,
Yeah, and Cliff will get a full link for it as well, and the replay, so that he doesn't have to worry about it. And so, Cliff, my real final question for you today is:
dun,
how
dun,
can
dun.
people find and support the work that you're doing?
Thank you for that. The best places are at Blue Amp Media. I mean, Blue Amp Media is the best place, but our Substack is sort of, I would call it home base. You can go to blueamp.co, where we are, growing thankfully, and have a pretty what's called robust subscriber base, which makes me really happy that we can get a message out to a lot of people. And we're also running right now like this special up to the 4th of July, which is soon, where we're doing 40% off if you want to get a paid subscription, and then you get to have private chat with a few of us, me or David Schuster or Ellie Leonard or some of these kind folks, Lawrence Winterman, and you'll get also a strategy memo on politics from us each week, and a few extra. In other words, you'll get the basic stuff for free, but you get that on top of it, and it's like a latte a month. So please go by and do that. The YouTube, 100% free, and you really need to change the URL because it's Blamp Media too, but the URL is still at Cliffs_Edge. And because it used to be called Cliff's Edge, all of my stuff, which I think is now becoming more my columns than anything else. But there you go. So YouTube and Substack, Blue Amp Media, and at Cliffs_Edge at YouTube, and blueamp.co at the Substack machine.
Appreciate it, and thank you for this wonderful conversation today. And I'm going to do something I don't always do this at the end of the shows, is I'm not going to be promoting my page specifically. Please, if you're here with me, obviously come support Sick of This Shit Publications. But there's a bigger effort that I'm trying to do, and that I want to make sure that everyone is a part of, is the effort in conjunction and in partnership with the Disability Community for Democracy. Myself and Naida Green are leading the charge right now on a call to action to say no to Crip Crow, which is the undermining of the 1999 Olmstead decision, in conjunction with the Texas Section 504 lawsuits. Is disability rights are under attack in multiple ways and in multiple areas right now, and we have the power to do something about it. Is we are trying and working for a coordinated effort on a call to action. If you can, hit the QR code. As always, I will put in our webpage, which is broadbanner.com/crip-crow. You can get our action and information there. It's a full layout. There's tips for calling. There's a call script. There's an email template and script. Please use those for your calls. Do a daily action. It takes 3-ish minutes to call your representative and your senators. Thank you, Courtney, for putting that one in. And make sure you mention all of what is going on. Make sure you read that script.
Coming up on this, by the way, we need to. I know we want to work with you more on getting this out. There's so much going on; it can be tough, but this is really important. So
yeah, thank you, and I appreciate you guys for doing that. And I know Lawrence talked about it a little bit the other day while I was on with him and Dana about what that Blue Amp is in support of this, and I appreciate the support that you guys are offering, and the team is going to be offering to help this word out.
It's our pleasure. I mean, again, this is just another one of those assaults on another group. They just go from group to group they feel like they can pick on, and we need to show them that no, they can't. So
yeah, and don't worry if you have Republican congressmen and senators. This is not a political issue. This is personhood. This is civil rights and freedoms. I have Republican senators and representative. I have Tom Cotton as a senator, so I don't know how much. You can't get too much worse than that piece of shit.
No. Can you teach me how to smile? Because I don't think anybody has ever.
I don't think robots know how to smile.
Fair.
And I don't think that's in his program.
I
in
think
his
there's
program.
AI living and walking around among us. Elon Musk and him and
Just as
people.
broken as the one in the computers.
Yes, exactly right.
And so, yeah, is please, please, please support the efforts that we're doing for saying no to Crip Crow. This impacts not just people with disabilities, it will impact everyone because disability rights and freedoms are for everyone. Accessibility is for everyone. And when they label dissent as a mental illness, you can sure as fuck bet they're going to come after us. Even those who are not on the disabled list, and even those who are not truly disabled, they're going to come for you.
Sort of amazing. I'll just say quickly to look at, that one of the biggest pieces of legislation that George H.W. Bush pushed, and he did a lot of bad shit, like giving us Clarence Thomas. So don't think I'm in love with George H.W. Bush, but that he pushed that piece of legislation with the full support of Bob Dole, who was Senate Majority Leader and later a Republican nominee for president. So,
Mhm.
so guys who between them were nominated for the highest office of the Republican Party multiple times, and this is where they've devolved to today.
Yes.
It's astonishing, as it always is, in the various ways that they've become Cro-Magnons. So
Yeah, and I shit on the Bushes in the Republican Party all the time, but they gave us the ADA. They signed the ADA into law, George H.W. Bush, saying it was one of the most important things he ever did while president.
and
His
remember, like
son,
that's nuance
George,
too.
his son, George W. Bush, updated the
Yep.
ADA.
Yep. We can point out that George W. Bush 98% of the time sucked, and that George H.W. Bush probably at least 75 to 80 or 85% of the time sucked, and point out also if we're going to use nuance and context, like we've argued we should in these conversations, when they did something very good. That was probably the best thing, one of the 2 or 3 best things that George H.W. Bush did, and now they're
Yeah.
shitting on it and trying to destroy it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And that's how far they've fallen. That's why they are
Yep.
regressive and not
Yep.
conservative.
Yeah.
This is a regressive party, not a conservative party. The origins of the phrase Crip Crow, at least in my usage, is from my friend Naida Green. I do not know if she came up with it or where it came from originally, but it is a play on Jim Crow. And
Right.
if it catches you, if you see that and it catches you a little bit and you go, oof, that hurts, or oh, there's something visceral about that, good.
Well, then
That's
you've
the
been
point.
successful in what
That's the point of that phrase, is to get your attention and to ask, what is Crip Crow? And also
nothing good.
look out for actually it's now available too on the Sick of the Shit publication shop. We just put out a new t-shirt that is the Say No to Crip Crow shirt, and all of the proceeds from that shirt, every dollar we get in revenue from that shirt is going to go straight back to the Disability Community for Democracy. And so I want to use my partnership with them to help increase their visibility. I am part of supporting that organization, both in partnership and trying to become more officially. So please support Disability Community. We're going to be sending all the proceeds from those shirts to it. But the big ask is please make your calls, make your emails, make your faxes.
And just by doing this, if you've watched enough people here and seen enough, and how some are different than others, let's just put it that way, you can tell what kind of guy Nick is, and the fact that he could be pushing his Substack completely, probably could use more money. We all could, and this is what he's doing. So I would say, why don't you do this and make this your first priority, but maybe your second priority is to subscribe to Nick's Substack.
Thanks, Cliff.
That's my thought on it, because this stuff, it's not easy, and nothing is easy about today's economy and everything, and you're out there and you're still putting your heart behind this, so that says a lot. So
thanks. I appreciate you. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you.
Thanks,
and so
man.
everybody, final statement here is please go support Blue Ant Media. And I'm trying to there it is. Go support Blue Ant Media and Cliff Schecter and the team over there. They're doing incredible work. I really want to thank you for coming on today, for being a part of the discussion, adding to this Intelligent Masculinity, adding to this Better Humaning project, and helping us move forward. So thank you. Thank you,
It's
Cliff.
absolutely my pleasure. I'm sorry that it's been so long. We'll hopefully schedule another one in a little bit less time for you to either join us or me to join you, or both. So
Both. I'd love for both, because I think this is collaboration over competition. And when we lift each other up, we all do better. So
we don't
thank
need
you.
to compete
Yeah.
and be like, I don't go to. I mean, so.
Oh, we lost him for a second. All
right.
the technical issues. All
Who
the
knows?
technical issues.
I'm
tonight.
done. I don't want to make this.
No,
we can do well together. It really is that.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And so everyone, let's go have a great day. And as we like to always say here on Sick of This Shit Publications, is we're done being sick of this shit. So now we're doing this shit. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Cliff. Really appreciate you.
My pleasure.